Hi, I'm Riley.
And I'm Ryder. And this is my dad's show.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox, and if you've been a Quarterback Dadcast listener, you know you've heard about my friends at Acme Home. You've heard about my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods. Well, we have a new sponsor to announce. I'm beyond excited that Zencastr wants to get behind the Quarterback Dadcast. Zencastr, for those you don't know, is really the brains and technology behind this podcast. They are the ones that allow me to record anywhere, remotely, which can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be. And Zencastr's all-in-one web-based solution makes the process quick, painless, the way it should be. Now, speaking from personal experience, you know me, I can be a little obsessed with quality and want things done a certain way. Well, they have met my needs, they've exceeded my needs, they give an amazing service. Not to mention the tool is ridiculously easy to use, but they make it easy for my guests. It's literally one click and you're in the recording room. So if you are thinking about starting a podcast and you want to learn more about them now, go to zencastr.com or click the link in the show notes. And by using the promo code, The Quarterback Dadcast, all lowercase, you will receive 30% off your first 3 months of service. So with that, let's take a minute to hear a little bit about Acme Homes. Bob Cumming, former college teammate, amazing leader, amazing home builder. They continue to take so much pride in the work they do, the craftsmanship, the attention to detail. Whether you're looking for a home up in Monroe, up in Sultan, up in Wenatchee, this is where they're doing their amazing things. So many people during the pandemic, as we have the ability to work from home, have decided to move out of the city to try to find homes where there's more acreage. Well, that's exactly what Bob and team at Acme Homes give you. So check out Valley Vista up in Monroe. Check out Daisy Meadows out in Sultan. And if you want to even go to Eastern Washington, check out Sienna Heights in Wenatchee. They're, again, amazing craftsmanship, amazing floor plans. You can visit them at acmehomeswa.com. And if you're interested in learning specifically about listings or mortgage opportunities, contact Jen at 425-308-8082 or Denise at 425-309-2318. So now, why are we doing a new ad? Because we want to talk about a partnership they have with Portage Bank. Kevin Jensen is one of the great lenders over there. He's a senior vice president. He's going to take care of you. And right now, if you obtain a mortgage through Portage Bank, Bob and team at Acme Homes are going to pay your $500 appraisal fee. I said that right. They're going to pay your $500 appraisal fee by buying a home through them, getting your mortgage through the folks at Portage Bank. So don't wait. Now's the time to contact Jen, contact Denise. Again, Jen's number is 425-308-8082. Again, Denise is at 425-309-2318. Visit acmehomeswa.com right now. Don't wait. Thank you again for listening to the Quarterback Dadcast. So with that, let's get right to today's episode. Well, hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox with the Quarterback Dadcast, and we are in Season 3. And again, every episode of Season 3 is dedicated to the one and only Michael Jacox, Big Mike, up in heaven now. It is we're still get sad occasionally, but mainly it's a lot of giggles and laughter of all the funny shenanigans my dad put us through and shared over the years. But my next guest does not know my dad, but we're going to have him on for kind of a similar story. His name is Matt Marcoux. He is a certified financial planner. He is a co-owner of a fee-based financial wealth management firm called Candor Path, based in Florida. And I met this fine gentleman through a friend, a client of mine named Patrick Surmeyer, who connected me with a gentleman named John Kennedy, a partner of Matthew's. And they were gracious enough to have me on their podcast. And now the roles are going to be swapped. I get to play the interviewer and he's going to be the interviewee. So without further ado, Matt, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast.
Casey, thank you so much, man. Great to be here. It's interesting sitting on this side of the table now, being the interviewee instead of the but I'm looking forward to it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So initiation, first time guest, we got to do 10 burpees before we get started.
Oh my gosh, this dad bod cannot handle that right now.
So Dad Bod, are you part of Patrick's Dad Bod squad?
I am not. John, my partner, John Kennedy, is really into physical fitness. So I just do enough to maintain. I'm in maintenance mode right now. I'm in the mid 40 range, and I'm a heavy Pelotonian. Since I'm super busy and having this bike next to my desk, it gives me very little excuse to not work out. So again, I'm in maintenance mode right now. Just keep things status quo. I'm not trying to get better. Just try not to get worse at this point.
Well, I want to get a little bit better, but our fitness goals are very similar. My fitness goals are don't get fat and don't get hurt.
That's it.
And
That's it.
people think I'm joking, but they're really, because if I can stay out of a PT clinic, what's a win?
Yeah, I overcame back surgery actually right after we had our second child. And I was a normally healthy at that time 36-year-old. And out of nowhere, I went down and had immediate, almost emergency back surgery. So from that point on, I was really the age caught up to me. And I was like, okay, we're not trying to play ice hockey anymore or do these crazy things. Just keep out of the emergency room. That's the goal these days.
So I'm already intrigued. I have back shenanigans too. I have to be very careful. What did you do?
I don't know. I really don't. I got severe sciatic pain, like debilitatingly on the ground out of nowhere overnight. And it was so intense that I went to the ortho and they were almost concerned that it was a tumor growing, because of how severe and how quickly it onset. And I went in on a Friday to a neuro. And he said, I will see you for surgery on Tuesday. Never had surgery in my life. Barely broke a bone up to that point. And I said, okay, I'm not so certain about this. That same day, I went to a random other neuro. And I just didn't tell him the whole story. He just said, I'm here for a checkup. He said, you need to have surgery and we'll see you on Tuesday. And I said, you're actually my backup plan. I've already consulted with someone. He said, if you don't have surgery, that numbness you're feeling right now, especially in that very sensitive male region, you're going to be wearing diapers if you don't get this corrected right now. And so I just had a severe herniation and went in, got it cut up, and was walking that same day. And I worked really hard. And from that point on, and really, I'm not plugging Peloton, but I realized that my core region, being a tall guy, slouching over, not having good posture, is what really needed work. And I credit this bike. Again, I don't get anything from them, but sitting on this bike, I've pedaled a couple thousand miles on it, and it has gotten me back to the point where I don't have back pain, and it's pretty much the only thing at this point that stops that from occurring. So,
wow,
yeah, it was a crazy story out of nowhere. Also, kind of a good time to have surgery. I mean, it's good, it's bad. I'm saying this tongue in cheek, but having a newborn at home, there wasn't really much I could do at that point. So my wife was doing, and she's a rock star, all the heavy lifting. So I laid low for a few weeks.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're better. I commiserate with you because I have to be very, knock on wood, I can get flare-ups every 18 months or so. And I'm like literally down for the count and I have to get on a prednisone, which is like a 5-day steroid pack, which is just like, I don't know what it does, but it's magic.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we always start each episode, since I've already got us way off track, and anybody, hey, back doctors, give John a call. Give Matt a call. Pardon me. Tell me, what are you most grateful for as a father right now?
Right now, I'm going to say health, but I need to add a qualifier here, Casey, because that's a very generic answer, and I've listened to enough of your podcasts to know that there's just not enough there. I'm very grateful for health right now because, and most dads can attest to this, and I am saying this a bit tongue in cheek, that we came off of a weekend here of back-to-back stomach bugs for both of my children. And in terms of superficial illnesses, again, I know there's people out there dealing with far more than this, so it is very much tongue in cheek, but to have a superficial illness such as a stomach bug with both of my boys, we're talking full-on mops. And we have a playroom that took most of the damage this weekend. And I've really just considered boarding it up and just saying, hey, listen, we got a 4-bedroom house. That boarded room there's nothing there. We're just going to detach it from
Burn
home.
it.
So most of the dads on here listening know, hey, stomach bugs amongst the non-serious illnesses is pretty bad. And I'm thankful today. Both my kids are back in school. They're healthy and everything is staying down at this point. So it's health, but health in a very minor sense.
Oh God, I remember those days. Those were the worst, dude. Those were the worst.
It just was a fountain. It was a fountain. And that's my job. Again, I have a rock star wife, but my role in this relationship is I handle stomach bugs. That's my thing. So I have the kit and the bucket ready to go at all times, and I spring into action. And
hazmat suit,
it was a rough gloves. Gloves, hazmat. I'm trying not also to get it. And so yeah, it was a tough weekend, but this too shall pass.
I'm picturing Carl Spackler from Caddyshack in the pool. Like that's your outfit.
That's it. I'm full on just trying not to, still giving love to these little boys who need some sensitivity during a stomach bug, but I am trying not to get it as well.
Wow. I'm going to go something completely different, but kind of a random one, but this is how my curious, bizarre mind at time works. I'm grateful for the word adversity. So my daughter she has a talented group of little ladies that they play basketball with. And they have not lost many games in 4 or 5 years. And they out of nowhere, they've lost 2 games in a row for the first time in a long, long time. And I am so grateful for it because it's
Good reset button.
Grit, resilience. We're going to with a little life lesson about when all of our teammates, are we going to point the finger? Are we going to point at ourselves? And so I'm grateful for that. They get this opportunity. They get the state tournament coming up here in about a month and a half. So I'm like, what a better time to have some rocky road now than a month and a half from now. But I'm excited that she gets to hopefully step up, be a leader, and grateful for that opportunity she has in front of her.
And good for that. Listen, I'm sure we'll talk about this more, but I've learned so much more from my small failures in life than from the wins, right? And you learn, like you said, adversity. You learn who you are. What can we do to make this better? Sometimes you're just hitting everything the right way, and you feel like you can't do any wrong. Sometimes you need to be humbled and put back into place and say, this can happen. I can make these mistakes. What are we going to do to fix it? You fix it now before the state finals comes up.
100%. All right, man. So I want to go inside the Marcoux huddle and tell me who are the key players. What roles are they playing?
All right, so I'm flanked here by my wife Lauren. She is just my rock. She's our home engineer. She's takes care of the house, takes care of our boys. Is a writer, is incredibly smart, and just the person that I need, the best compliment to me. In our home, we have 2 boys. My son Bryce, who is 8, about to turn 9. And my son Rylan, our baby, and he's 5, and so that's the Marcoux clan, and that's all it will be, just the 4 of us.
Is that a permanent, or is that just a game day decision?
That's a permanent. That was 6 months after my son. I feel like I can be super honest here. I was like, hey, Lauren, I think we're done in our family planning. It was not an easy road to either boy. In fact, it was probably one of the most difficult things we, as a married couple, went through, was having our children. And so I knew that I was thankful I was for them when we were done 6 months after my last son was born, that we were done with the family planning process, and we wanted to make sure that we took care of that part of it.
Yeah. Was it you or her? Since we're gonna get to know each other here, brother.
Yeah, no, you know what? It was unexplained. It was.
No, I mean, like, who got fixed?
Oh, me. It was me. I said, listen, you've taken so much for the team, above and beyond, more than any woman in my eyes could have done. And if all I need to do is go see my urologist and have a 10-minute procedure, I can do that for what you've gone through, not only birthing our babies, but all the process leading up to it. And so it was an easy decision, 2-second decision in my mind. And like I said, I look back on it. It was the right time. It was the right thing to do. And we knew at that point we had 2 healthy children. We were blessed with that. Let's not push our luck.
Good answer, man. I'm sorry if I'm going to bust any dad's balls out there, but I always, when I was here with my buddies, so sometimes say, oh no, I can't do that. My wife, you're already there. Why don't you get it done? I'm like, come on, bro. We got to step up, dads. This is our job. And I don't know about you, but that was the most surreal experience ever. I'm in stirrups. Yep. I'm like, what? This is really happening. I got the boys out, Frank and Beans, just sitting there getting ready to have this thing done. And then, but the funniest thing about I don't know why we're talking about this, but this is pure entertainment here. My doctor, rest in peace, Dr. Bob, passed away, unfortunately, about a year ago in February. Out of the blue, super sad. But one of the funniest things I've ever had a doctor do, so when I got done with the procedure, he wrote me a sex prescription to give to my wife. Mandatory, like 70 times. And that's awesome. He said it with a straight face, and then he's like, I'm just joking. But I'm like, no, this is perfect. Honey, sorry, doctor's orders.
Yeah. Mine was my wife, she was recovering. It was months after we had our son. And, they give you this Valium ahead of time, and you're supposed to have a spouse drive you. And, she's a very honest person. She's like, so hold on. I just birthed a child. I'm doing all of the work, and now you're going to take a Valium to me to be driven. And I said, you're right, honey. I did not take the Valium. I drove myself there. I got it done, and then drove myself home. And you know what? That's what big boys do, right? You just get it done. And I figured there's so many moving pieces in that female body and so many different types of hormones and things like that. I'm not messing with those anymore. This is a pretty easy mechanical decision. Let's just get the job done.
Yep. And away you went. Okay, so let's go backwards. I want to learn. Tell me about what was life like growing up for you. Tell me what you learned from your parents, and what lessons are you applying as a dad based on that journey of growing up.
Yeah, I had a really unique upbringing. I'm an only child. I lived in South Florida, and my dad was medically discharged from the military almost before I was born. And shortly after I was born, maybe 5 years old, my parents divorced. And as an only child with divorced parents, I had a very unique upbringing. First of all, I was doted on because I had two parents who both were vying for my love and attention. And also, my dad was, I guess you can consider it for all intents and purposes, retired. And so he had an extremely active part of my upbringing. My mother was an early childhood educator, and she really instilled with me the value of education and how important that was, and very much of the structured parent. And then my dad, as we grew together, it really became a best friend. And he was still dad, the disciplinarian. There were, still, but he was my best. And in fact, he was the best man at my wedding. He stood up there next to me. And so my dad at that point, we were buds, and I learned so much. I learned School of Hard Knocks from him, and I learned the structured stuff from my mom. And I think you need both of those things. My dad was an avid sailor, and I learned the love of the ocean and both the respect of the ocean. And to this day, I bring that to my family, where we are avid boaters as well and spend a lot of time on the water as a family. And so, growing up, it was really unique having a dad around almost all the time, almost nonstop, volunteering at school, and just playing a very active part of my life. Because, frankly, what else did he have to do? He didn't have a spouse, and I was the only child, and so he played a really, really active part of my life. And my parents, after the drama of a divorce, which there was a lot of damage done there, and there was some unhealthy stuff. Listen, two parents just trying to figure it out, they're not going to get that right. But what I learned from that is that I really wanted a traditional family, right? I missed that. I didn't have a brother, and so I didn't have a buddy to grow up with. And I decided on a daily basis whose house I wanted to go to. I would just pick, and my parents were cool with that. And so I desperately wanted, when I had a family, I wanted stability. I wanted siblings, and I wanted that traditional married unit that we see and that I saw growing up. And so to that day, that really drives myself is I really wanted that for our family. And I think so far up to this point, I've done a fairly good job of making sure that that's come to fruition.
Wow. How remind me, how long have you and Lauren been married?
Let's see. We got married in 2005. I took her to our high school prom. So we met in 1998, and we both lived in South Florida. And she came up to go to the University of Central Florida, where I was already a sophomore. And it was ever since then. We've been together in one way or another, whether living together or whether just being boyfriend and girlfriend. And we got married in 2005. So we had actually a really long dating cycle, just because we were college students. I mean, I wasn't going to get married. In my mind, I wasn't going to get married till I could establish myself and to not be living off of my parents. And so we waited till we were both graduates and had a decent job, and were able to really kind of forge that marriage the right way, in my opinion.
Very cool. Now, did she come from a parents still together?
Yeah, parents still together with a sibling, very, very traditional family structure. And we're very close with her parents still to this day, and her brother and his wife and his family. So I got to see that side of it as well as, and I didn't, again, being an only child, and I see my boys now, whether they fight or whether they're doing something, I don't know, is that normal or is that not? Because it was only me growing up, and I only have one perspective. She's really helpful to say, hey, this is normal or this is not when it comes to siblings. And she provides that other side to it, which is incredibly helpful for me.
Very cool. So as you think back, you talked about mom, structure, dad, at times hard knocks, but still, fun, best buddy. As you think back about stories that you learned, that structure, tell me what comes to mind.
I think what came to mind most is when deciding to leave home, right? The structured is you go get a college education, you get a degree, you get a job. The unstructured side was, hey, maybe I went to the military. Why don't you try going into the Navy? Or hey, let's go create a business and let's do something fun together. And for me, that was a kind of a fork in the road, and I didn't have to choose one or the other. I got to kind of think through what made the most sense for me, and just the way my journey moved is I ended up going to college and said, listen, if I'm going to either join the military, join the service, which I did have a passion to do and did not end up doing, that I'd still be able to do that. That wasn't out of the realm. And my dad sent me up to school with an F-150 pickup truck, long bed, not the coolest vehicle for you're going to college. And I paid for it. He just guided that decision, but because he said, hey, listen, if everything fails, you could be moving stuff. We could throw stuff in the back of your truck and you can have a job doing that. And so, again, it was that school of hard knocks, and then that very structured and kind of blending both of those together was one of the biggest lessons that I learned from seeing both sides of it.
So you mentioned your dad. If you don't, I'm just super curious, as you'll find out. So he medically discharged. My dad actually had that too back in. He was a DD 214, I think it's called, or in the Army. Tell me how did
it was really before my time, and he never really talked about it. It was always sort of a mystery. I knew Dad got a pension. I knew Dad had severe back. When I talk about railroad tracks going up his back, something horrible happened, and he never really talked about it. Never divulged it. He like me had a bad back, and I just never thought anything of it. I thought this is normal, and I always just, instead of having to explain this to everyone, I would just say my dad's retired. I'd be like, okay, he's retired at 40. That's kind of weird. I don't want to, and I don't think he really wanted at the time. Yeah, everyone knowing that there's a medical discharge or this happened or that happened. So, for all intents and purposes, I considered him a retired dad. Yeah, which is again not normal, especially in the 80s when I grew up. That it was that structured family environment. Dad worked and mom worked, and Dad wasn't volunteering at school and coming to every single thing because that's all he had to go on.
What service was he in?
He was in the Navy.
Okay.
Yep. And served aboard. He served aboard aircraft carriers.
Oh, okay. My father-in-law was. So my wife was born in Key West. She's a conch, and then my father-in-law he flew the Vigilante on an aircraft carrier down there.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time bouncing around the bases because he had full access to bases, and so we would spend a lot of time in Key West. Again, we were avid boaters, and that was our old stomping grounds was the Keys, and and then kind of traveling around to all the different bases in the area. So that's cool.
Wow. So you leave college. You're married. You get your CFP. How the heck do you get into this thing called Candor Path, and how do we figure out let's start a business?
Yeah, so I was in college, and and college was difficult because day one they said, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, I don't know. That's what I'm here to figure out. I don't have no clue, and so they kind of stick in this liberal arts side of things. And my dad said, "Hey, listen, Matt, go get a job. Just get a job while you're doing college. First of all, you need a little bit extra money, and I really want you working while you're at school because there's a lot of free time, a lot of time to get in trouble." So I said, "Okay, I'll get a job." And I got a job. I had a great boss, and the boss said, "Listen, Matt, if you have no idea what you want to do, just get a degree in business, man. You can't screw that up. You're gonna always be able to use it for something." And so I said, okay, I'll enter the UCF School of Business and just get general business degree, and then I can figure it out after the fact. And some of the first classes I took were finance classes, and in that finance class, I started to gain some interest. And Lauren and I took a trip to Manhattan. In I guess it was 2000. It was just boyfriend, girlfriend. We're going to go to Manhattan and see the town. And we walked by the stock exchange. And this was obviously pre 9/11. And at the stock exchange, they were handing out tickets. And they said, "Hey, listen, come back here at 2:00 and you can have a tour of the stock exchange," which, these days it's barred up. You can't get in. And so we sat there for way longer than we were supposed to. In fact, I sat there touring the exchange for probably about 2 hours. Meanwhile, my wife, who wants to go see the sights and all the cool things in New York, she's like, "This is the most boring thing ever." And I watched what was happening there, and just, you get that feeling in life where you're like, don't know quite what's happening here, but something I want to do. And leaving school after that, I got my degree in finance. I just kind of focused on those finance courses, got an internship, started working at a firm. And then in 2018, John and I broke away. John and I worked together at that previous firm. We broke away and formed Candor Path Financial, and the rest is history.
Very cool. Tell me how you figured out the name.
Well, John and I had a couple glasses of wine. Our wives were there too, and we had a thesaurus. I don't. I'm going to give all the credit to John. He was the first person to leave our previous firm, and then I came over. So he always gets the credit of being led first. But we were sitting around with the source, trying to think of what do we do. I mean, there's Freedom Financial, there's Honesty Finance, like there's all these names. What is it we do? We speak with candor. And that's kind of how we try to differentiate ourselves from the rest of the financial planning firms out there, which there's millions of them, is speaking with honesty, truth, integrity. And so that name stuck, and it was sort of unique enough where everyone asked that question. You know, if it was Freedom Financial or Lifespan Financial, you kind of like can figure it out. Candor was enough of a little bit of a nuance to it to people say, well, tell me more about what that means. Yeah. And that for us is a great lead-in. And so we, ever since then, it stuck.
It is a cool name. As you were going there, this is I'm a random human being. Maddie,
Go for it, man.
I immediately went to Step Brothers and Prestige Worldwide, and which has nothing to do with it, but sometimes creating those names, it's fun because you kind of put your stamp on who you are, what you're about. It's your brand. It's a way to create. I mean, create curiosity for me. I wanted to think, hey, tell me more about it. So.
Yeah, it started with Candor Financial, and we did some crowdsourcing at the time. John's so good with the other aspect of our business, and so we said, let's do some crowdsourcing, and found a way, and he'll explain it better than I can, but found a way to contact, I don't know, it's a company that has like 100 graphic designers or whatever, and crowdsourced it, and someone came up with the path part. And we're like, oh my gosh, that was like genius. So we had the candor kind of already locked in, and it was just Candor Financial. And it's sort of like it didn't roll off your tongue as nice. And then someone, I don't know who it was, threw in path, and we're like, that's it, done. And so our guidance, your journey is our tagline, and it really kind of speaks to our guidance using candor, and your journey is the path part of it, and kind of blending both those together. So, and then everything just the puzzle pieces just started coming together, and it stuck.
Now the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So we talked about mom, talked about dad, talked about divorce, talked about only child, which I think can cause many opportunities, challenges, whatever we might want to say. I want to learn when did you and your dad start really getting close?
Yeah, we got close as I got older. I was not appreciative. I remember the summer of 1992, we spent a month on our boat together. 1 month we went from Fort Lauderdale to Key West on our sailboat, and stopping along the way, but very much roughing it. And we fought. I mean, we fought as hard as two people stuck on a 30-foot boat can fight at times. And I really feel like that was one of the turning points, because I didn't appreciate it, and now I look back on it and I'm like, that was probably arguably one of the greatest months of my life. And as a 12-year-old, all I could think about was getting home and hanging with friends or having a cold beverage at the time, because our refrigerator conked out halfway down the trip. And and so that really, I think, was the turning point. And our love of the ocean really brought us even closer and closer. I mentioned he's the best man at my wedding. For my bachelor party, which is traditionally a group of dudes going out doing something fun, him and I took another boating trip. It was our final boating trip together, and that was in 05. And so again, instead of going out with the fellas, which was more the traditional route, I said, Dad, I want to take. Well, I didn't know this would be. I want to take one last like just true me and you. Go down to the Keys boating trip on our sailboat. Right after that, Hurricane Wilma came through, and we actually lost the boat. And so that was truly the last time any of us were on it. And it was an older boat, and so it wasn't salvageable. And my dad at that point moved on from boating to being an RVer, because he had to scratch that itch somehow of being able to travel and not stay in one spot. And so that's really kind of when our paths sort of started to separate. Was there, and he said, listen, I'm giving up boating. I'm going to get an RV, and I want to start traveling around, get access to all these military bases, be able to travel. He had a group of buddies that he would go with and kind of travel around to different bases.
Starting into Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, he was it. I know he would pull up into our house with his RV, and it was a pretty nice one. I had the experience of driving in, and we get to that part of it later, but I had the experience of driving it across the country with him. And so it was very much at times Cousin Eddie. He would just pull right up in an HOA community And he said, I'm here. I mean, my dad's here. So
don't go fall in love in that thing when I take it with me. I leave here next month.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So when I was on your show, I somehow I ended up sharing with you about my father and the challenges. And at the time, my dad was still with us. And then on December 29th, my dad, I was so thankful there. I was there for his my wife and I were there for his last breath. When you go through that experience, it's very surreal because you hear people talk about these stories, but that's not real. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm the main character in this movie. I'm right there. And, I was a little scared at time, but then once you kind of get over just dive in and give it all you got. And that's what I was inspired to that. And if you read or heard that, I wrote a tribute called The Final Whistle, which is like a metaphor on like,
I saw your post. Yep.
Yeah. Just compete to the end. And it just spoke to me. And, I don't know, that's why I love when I like for me about writing, and if Lauren feels the same way, but like when I write, it's to get something out that you feel inspiration. Yeah. Without outcomes. I don't have it out like, hey, oh my God, I got to get 32 likes and I got to be in Oprah's book club. Like, no, I want to just if I feel inspired to write a message, I do it. So, hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox. I want to take a quick break to talk about my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods who continue to be just an amazing, loyal sponsor. And for those of you who've tried it, thank you. For those of you who haven't, you're missing out. And now's the time to make sure that you visit catchsitkaseafoods.com and get some of those amazing smoked salmon. Get some of that amazing rockfish, blackfish, black cod, salmon, whatever it might be, whatever you like. But what's great about opportunities they have, now is the time to subscribe to a box so that you're going to get that reliable cadence of the best fish directly from the dock to the doorstep. And what's great about Catch Sitka Seafoods, they make it so easy. So those that maybe aren't the best chefs at home, doesn't matter. They're going to give you this beautiful, nice laminated recipe card that tells you exactly how long to cook it, whether you're going to barbecue, you're going to bake, you're going to fry, whatever the way you want to do it, they're going to make it easy. So please visit them today, catchsitkaseafoods.com. Sign up for a subscription so that you're going to get the best fish delivered directly to your door. You won't regret it. And just like my daughter Riley says, Dad, I don't even like fish. And she does now because of my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafood. So with that, let's get right back to today's episode. And then you shared with me that your dad had a simple. Yeah. So maybe if you can talk about that.
Yeah. And I look at that. You asked what lessons earlier. The last lesson he taught me was how to deal with death. It was the very last lesson he taught me. And it's one that I'm extremely grateful for a number of reasons. I'll kind of back up a quick bit. As I mentioned, he started RVing and he was traveling around different bases, and he was in Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, and he collapsed. And his buddies called me and said, listen, man, your dad's in the hospital right now. Not quite sure what happened. He went down. And so I bought a one-way ticket out to Las Vegas. And so the last time I saw the Strip, which is something that most people, if you're into gambling, I'm really not, is this most exciting, colorful place. And I was there going to get my dad. And he hadn't died. He at that time, I went immediately to the hospital, and I talked to whoever was seeing him, and they said, he's got a glioma. It's a very severe brain tumor. You need to get him into hospice. And I went from just flying out to think I collapsed. He had a heart condition, stroke or something like that, to almost immediately stepping off the plane, hearing, hey, he doesn't have much time. And I thought, doesn't have much time. Like, yeah, he's been a little loopy lately, but yeah, my dad's always been a little eccentric. So I got him out of the hospital. I took him, packed up all of his stuff in this RV, including a motorcycle and a trailer, which I have no business driving, nor do I know how to. And Lauren and I plotted on I-10 from Las Vegas to Orlando the entire way together. And she would call me every night. And this was a little bit pre-GPS. I mean, GPS was kind of there at that point. But, she said, listen, you need to go here, stop here, get gas here. And she guided us along the way. I parked it in Orlando. I brought him into our home. And 5 weeks later, he died. And, it was, again, not the best. Obviously it's difficult. I know you just dealt with that. And I got chills when I saw your post about your father passing, because we had just talked about it. But as a financial planner, and let me switch gears, as a financial planner, I dealt with death a lot. And I've always dealt with it from what I read in a book, right? I as growing up, I never really dealt with death, and I'm so thankful for that. But what happens prior to dying? What are the financial affairs we need to get into order? Again, I know from a book on how to do it. I never actually had to do it. And so making sure that everything was buttoned up the right way, and the will was done the right way, and the assets were moved in the right spot. And I wasn't going towards money. That wasn't the point of it, but it was, I put on my financial planner hat, not my son hat, and said, okay, this is a client. We got to figure this out to make sure his wishes are done after death. And so it was the best lesson he could have ever given to me. And I look back on it, and I'm not thankful of his passing, but I'm thankful of the way that it occurred. He died in his sleep, which again, these
Awesome.
are all things. Yeah, that's right. And I don't know if he waited or not, but we got called away to a wedding, and so he was here in town at a facility, and I don't know if he waited. And again, we could talk about higher beings, but he waited till we left town and died. And I got the phone call and said he's passed and to come back home. And I never saw his body. I never saw him. And I think he probably wanted that way, because he would not have wanted to see me deal with that side of it. And so again, I look back on it and think, man, all the pieces came together the way he probably wanted it to. And I'm thankful for that.
That's awesome. Did you, in his final days, was he able to communicate with you at all?
No, he really moved into a childlike state. The tumor so aggressive, and I started getting frustrated because he would leave the house. He would not do the things I would ask him to do while he was living underneath our roof. And Lauren's like, Matt, this isn't your dad. This is the shell of your father who's fighting an aggressive. You can't get mad at him. He's back to child form almost.
Yep.
And I really struggled with that at the beginning. And then I really started to understand, wait, what am I getting? He's not doing this on purpose. He's not leaving the house in the middle of the night, walking around the neighborhood because he wants to. This is the disease. And I really had to realize this is that full circle that we always talk about of, our parents, if we're lucky enough, seeing them go from, being the adult, being the responsible person, to coming back around, and us treating them like they treated us as growing up as a child. And so that was really hard to overcome at the beginning. But we ended it well, and there was very little communication just because that disease is so aggressive.
Our wives have similar things in common, man. They're freaking beasts.
Oh my gosh,
dude, your wife sounds a lot like my wife. So my dad, I think I told you, had dementia, onset of Alzheimer's. He had a rap sheet of other stuff, and when you can't reason with the unreasonable. And so for anybody listening who have dealt with, if you got dementia or, what Matt's father had, you guys, girls, whoever's listening, just love them, because in there, they're in there somewhere. And I think one of my former guests, actually athletic director here in my town, Tony Davis, great dude, great guy, great story. I had him on my show. He was the one that kind of triggered me to get out of my own guilt of just like, because for me, COVID was a nice little excuse to not go see my dad, and that was hard to say, but I was being honest. And, but I tell you, man, those last 7 weeks we had, realizing that all we can do is love them. And it almost like the dementia went away. It was weird. And I mean, you want to talk about like my kids also, Matt, didn't get to really see a grandpa because they were too young, but I would never see my son laugh harder than when my dad had a very weird sense of humor, like probably more weird than mine. And why I'm about to share this, I have no idea, but why he said this to one of the hospice nurses. She's, I don't even know, gonna guess north of 45, smaller, little overweight Hispanic lady. Didn't speak too well English. My dad, me and my son are there. This lady walks in, and my dad goes, "Well, hey, what are you horny or something? What are you doing here?" And me and my son were like, "Oh my God, what are you doing, dude?" And like that memory, like forever, my son still talks about it. He's like, "Dad, I can't believe Grandpa told her that." I'm like, "Me too, bro." But like,
that's who he was, man.
Dealing with death, at least we have those memories, and for you to kind of go through that phase of like trying to convince, trying to persuade Dad to do this, and once you didn't, what a gift probably you gave yourself.
Yeah, it was a relief almost. I wasn't worried about the disciplining him. He didn't know what was happening. It was releasing the fact that, hey, this is going to happen, and we have a finite amount of time. Let's make that part of it count as much as possible. And once we did that, the relationship improved as much as it could during that. And then he deteriorated to a point where he just slept all the time. And that was, listen, that's the way I would want to go at some point down. You want to go in your sleep. That's the ideal scenario. And so hard to be sad about that, except to the point that you made was not being able to have the next generation meet. And so we talk about my dad within our family, and we have pictures and videos and those types of things, but I would have loved for my boys to be able to met him.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. It's, that's one thing I am grateful for. Before he passed, we got some good videos of, the dementia where my dad was like, he's waving saying, "I love you guys," which he didn't say a lot in the 15-year rough spatch. And he's like, I love you. Don't forget the milk. We're like, what? So he like, he just random. Yeah, just random stuff like that. I remember I was with my daughter. So, and then, I had to go pick up his ashes this last week.
Yeah.
Which was, surreal and difficult, yet that I was like, I'm just going to make this fun. And as weird as that says, so Dad's in the front seat. I said, "Dad, what do you want to listen to? We're taking a little drive, buddy." Just trying to make it light.
What did you end up doing with the ashes?
So right now he's chilling at our house.
Okay.
He's right. And obviously we want to do a celebration of life, but we're given these weird COVID times that we're trying to just let things die down a little bit, and then we'll do something. But he's going to be, in his will, he wanted his ashes to be spread at Mount Rainier.
Oh, very cool.
So, which is actually kind of cool because I've never been there in a long time.
Yeah,
and,
what a great excuse to make your way up there.
Yeah, I'm not going to summit the thing, Pops. So sorry if you think I'm going to be a mountaineer. It's not going to happen. It goes against my fitness goals.
Yeah, exactly. You got to only in maintenance right now. Only in maintenance mode. My dad wanted to return to the ocean, and so I said, "Listen, Dad, this is a tall order right now, man. I got a lot happening. To take a specific spot where we used to go to a lot down in Key Biscayne." And for us getting there is difficult. We had a new child at that point. So he sat on our shelf for 5 years. And every time I'd be like, "I know you're pissed. I know it, Dad. I know what you're saying right now. Maddie, I told you to do this. I know, Dad, just give me a break." And so we took a family trip, and I was able to take our boat at the time. And we had our first son, who was probably only 2 or 3. And so get his ashes. I go to the exact spot that I know he wanted to be at. And Lauren starts filming. So got on, she's got the iPhone out, and I'm awesome. Saying nice words. And, "Dad, we're returning back to the place you always wanted to be. Sorry, it's been 5 years." My son, in the meantime, is on our boat throwing. He's 2 years old, so he doesn't know. Throwing everything off the side of the boat. So in the video, I'm fathering by saying, "Bryce, put that rope, take that life jacket and put over," and I'm doing the dump out and trying to make this like emotional. And it was the most unemotional thing because I'm yelling at my child the whole time to stop throwing stuff over the side of the boat. And it was just the way it was supposed to be. And it was in the right spot. But yeah, he probably would have been a little pissed. It was 5 years.
Yeah. Well, you did your best. You got to give yourself grace. And
yeah.
So as you think about, of all the lessons you learned from Mom and Dad, tell me what are like the top 1 or 2 things that come to mind that they're always on top of mind as you're now a dad yourself.
Yeah, I would say, one of the quotes that always comes up to mind for me, and it works both as a dad and also as a financial advisor, but it's don't just spend time, invest it. And that one for me is really hard because especially in this day and age where there's so many distractions, that I really try to be intentional with my boys as much as I can be. And I'm human and I fail, but I really try to be very intentional. If we're going to be doing a Lego set, man, I'm into that Lego set. If my son's doing karate, which I've sat in those folding chairs now for 4 years. Every parent has a phone in their face. And I can understand why. It's not the most exciting watching the trainings of these things. But I really try to do my best to say, he looks at me. I was at soccer practice with him last night. 7:15, 45 degrees here in Central Florida, which for us is like -20. And I'm freezing my tail off. And he keeps looking over to me and giving me thumbs up every time he did something in soccer practice, which at this age, it's like herding cats. Mm-hmm. So it's, again, I really try in the back of my mind. I'm like, listen, first of all, how many times do older parents tell us, hey, this is only for a small period of time?
Yeah.
And we can't see the forest through the trees sometimes. I really try to take that advice and say, if I'm going to be, I need to be intentional about what I'm doing and be in the moment. The phone can wait. Online can wait. The distractions around us can wait. This is only for a small period of my life. And then it goes back to how we had our children. As I mentioned, it was a very difficult process. And I said, my pact with that higher being was just please bless us with a child. I promise at 5 a.m. when he or she is crying, I'm not going to be pissed off and get up. I'm going to sprint out of bed because I'm just so fortunate to even have a child.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that really stuck with me. Some of those from my parents and some of those from the experiences that we had leading up to being a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, again, it's making sure both my parents invested a lot of time in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something I can give to my boys.
Mm. That's awesome, brother. I love that. I hope everybody did what I did, but on my piece of paper, I have in quotes with a big block bolded square around it. Don't just spend time, invest it. These are things, everybody, that you can't just say. Like, as I think back, I've told the story multiple times. I remember my son was 6 weeks old, got him in the baby Bjorn, get ready to walk around the neighborhood. And the neighbor says, "Man, Casey, and she goes fast." I was like, "What are you talking about, lady? He's like 6 weeks old. Why do you tell me this?" That was yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're talking about, I remember having conversations with my son Ryder about the experience of going through his youth sports journey and what went well and what didn't go well. And now tomorrow, actually, we're going, me, him, my wife are flying to Vegas for his first kind of out of state golf tournament.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, dude, I hope he plays well, but if he doesn't, dude, that's the experience. We're going to go down there, it's going to be memories, and we're going to laugh, and we're going to have a great time. And we're not going to be, outcomes are not always our measuring stick. It's the process of life, and it's time. And I think how present you are is so cool. And I think other dads definitely, hopefully you're learning from this episode, that specific word, because they're watching, everybody. They are watching. And, whether you're at dinner and everybody's on their phone, that's time you're wasting, that you could be asking questions and learning more about them, get them talking. So I love that you said that, man. Great job. Okay. Now it's time to talk about, this has been positive. Now we're going to talk about Maddie's gap.
Maddie's gap. All
Maddie's
right,
gap
let's do
as
it.
a dad. So mine is patience. I have to be very present about that one. But so as you think about an area of your dad game that other dads at home could maybe relate to, tell me what comes to mind of an area that you want to get better at.
Yeah, I think patience is a good one. It's something we talked about on the podcast that we were on together, and it's being able to apologize. And I think it was on the episode we talked about this, and I just recently, I think that day or the day before, had really come down hard on my boy, on my oldest, and really overdid it. I don't lay hands on either one of my children, and I didn't do it in this instance either. But I came down really hard on him for something that, boy, it was me. It wasn't him. He was a little disrespectful or something minor, and that just set me off. And so my wife, again, being that rock star, said, "Matt, you're in the wrong on that one. That was he could have done this a little bit different, but boy, your reaction to that was over the top." I walked in there. And I said, "Bryce, I'm sorry, man. I screwed that up. I did not do that the right way." So I think for me, it's being able to apologize when I'm wrong, be able to recognize it before it happens. I work in a fairly stressful job with the markets moving up and down and clients and all those things, and so not letting that get in the way of being a dad. But I'm really working hard on those types of things.
I love that. That's powerful, brother. So the challenge that I think, and you said something really, really key. You said, how do you notice it happening before? And so there's this thing I learned in this coaching world I do. It's called the 3 N's, which is you name that side of yourself. That, here comes Scary John. Look out, here he comes. That's the name. Now you notice it happening, but then now what? So name it, notice it, now what? Now what are you going to do about it? So how do we stop that? And I think what you did is really, really important that I don't know if you recognize, but I'll recognize and give you a shout out for it. You were self-aware to let your wife coach you, and because you could have made the situation 10 times worse. Like, what, bitch, you shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Which is going to be now you're really in the doghouse.
Oh boy, that's a recipe for disaster.
But you said, "Oh my God, what did I just do? I just freaked out for no reason." And listen, dads, we're not perfect. We all do it. But what do you do? So maybe for the dads that struggle with snapping out of it, is there some things you think about?
Yeah, I think physical health is a big part of it. Making sure you get a release for it. That day, no workouts took place, stressful day at work. I think I've heard you even on the podcast before saying, you just get out and go for a walk. Just if you're worse off helping if you're in that mood than you are just not being a part of the household. So get your butt out there, go for a walk, get out of that funk that you're in. We're all going to be in funks.
Yep.
It happens. But you said recognize it, and then sometimes removing yourself from the situation, which is what I should have done. I walked in there hot. Didn't need to have done that. I should have walked around the block, cooled down a little bit, had a rough day at work or whatever it was. Distractions were going on, and I think I would not have reacted the way that I did. So I think self-aware is a big part of it. And then when you screw up, because we're all going to do it, is recognizing. I think that, I don't know how it impacted my son, but I would imagine it went a pretty long way. Me walking in there and saying, "Listen, man, I screwed that up, and I am sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I'm going to do to make that up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's me and you go do something together. I shouldn't have come down on you on something so minor, and I'll make sure I'll work on that. And what am I too good to not hold my son, not hold me accountable to being a good dad? I'm not too good for that. I'll apologize anytime I need to, and to both my boys, and yeah, not letting them walk over me. Not, obviously there's a line, but when you're wrong, you're wrong.
It's powerful, man. What that lesson is, everybody, it's called power of vulnerability, and showing vulnerability is strength, not weakness. And I think so. All the dads out there that think about, like, you can't say you're sorry. The gift that Matt gave himself was saying, it's okay, I messed up, we're not perfect. One of my great mentors told me it's okay not to know every answer. It's just not okay not to do anything about it. I'm sorry, John, I keep calling I think your partner, but Matt
we look alike. It's okay.
By Matt apologizing, he taught his son that it's okay to apologize. Now, we don't want to keep apologizing every day and freaking out. That cycle is not good, but the time to time it's going to happen. And I think it's awesome. I think it's a great one that we can't talk about enough. So keep working on that, brother. But I appreciate you sharing. Okay, we're about to get into the lightning round, which I go really, really random.
I'm ready.
But if you were to summarize kind of everything we've talked about into some like actionable ways that dads can take some bits and pieces from our conversation, because we talked about a lot of deep stuff. What are a couple of things that come to mind that dads should take from what we talked about today so they can become that ultimate quarterback or leader of their home?
Yeah, I mean, it leads with the quote that we talked about. So, making sure your time is intentional, knowing that this is a finite period. This is a small period of time in our overall lives. I mean, you think about, I don't know what the average number of kids are, but you have a 10, 15 year period in a hopefully 80-year life cycle. I mean, this is a relatively small period of time where you have kids that require this much attention. This is not a forever thing in most situations. And so making the most of that is critical. Take yourself out of the situation sometimes. You're coming in there hot. You've had that tough day. Man, hit the punching bag, go for a run, hop on a bike, do something to just change that mindset, because it's not helping anybody. It's not helping anybody at all.
Love it. Taking notes, everybody. Hope you are too.
I'm nervous for the lightning round. I'm not going to lie to you. I know where some of these questions come from. I've been listening to you long enough.
Well, then I need to go crazy.
No, don't go crazy. I'm prepared for the regular ones.
So your job is to answer these quickly. My job is to try to get a giggle out of you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. If we were to christen your boat and give it a new name, what would the name be?
Cool as ice.
Oh, he's cool as ice.
He's cool
as ice. Take him.
Cool
Okay.
as ice.
Okay. If I was to come to your house for dinner, what would be happening? About your years of life on Earth right now, what would be the title?
Are we going to do the movie one? Because I'm prepared for the movie one, and if not, I'm going to use it for the book one.
Maybe you have to wait and see.
Shit. Okay. Then I'm going to have to use the movie one, which is going to be The Wolf of Winter Springs. Just the caveat, though, I'm not going to be a degenerate and tell people and make them lose money. I'm going to champion for strong financial stewardship and get rich slow.
And minus the cocaine.
Yeah. None of the debauchery. Just
good.
all good stuff.
Just all in good candor.
Yes, good candor.
Okay. So now it's Wolf of Winter, what?
Winter Springs, the town we live in, yes.
Wolf of Winter Springs. It's gone massive. Okay. Big time. We're talking Golden Globes. We're talking YouTube awards. It's on Vimeo. It's on Peacock, of all places. Who's starring you?
Denzel, naturally.
Wow. I see the look like.
There's there's no look like I love Denzel, so he's going to be my go-to.
Powerful. I love Denzel. How do you not love Denzel? So powerful.
I love Denzel.
Okay. It's 20 years from now. You are, Candor Path is doing amazing things for families all over wherever. And both of your boys have decided to get in the business with you. Tell me what role they will be playing.
Oh boy. I think we're going to need another hour for that part of it. Bryce is compassionate and loving and caring, and he would be a really good listener, which is what it takes for this job. So I can see him doing that. Ryland's still developing, 5 years old. Got a lot of things going on with a 5-year-old right now. So right now he wants to be Mario or Luigi when he grows up. So I'm not sure he's ready for the family business, but we will accept them all with open arms.
He's head of people right now.
Yeah.
He's going to be a man of the people out there.
I think he will be.
Tell me the one song that you love to listen to that people will say, no way.
It's going to be something. I'm a huge 90s, 2000 hip hop fan. So it's going to be something from Big Year Pac. To Live and Die in LA. Let's go there with Pac.
Feeling it. I like it. And on that, Head Bob, we're gonna end the lightning round, but you made it out unscathed. I went random. We got goofy. It's always fun doing that. I appreciate you doing some homework and knowing what might be coming at you. I want to say a huge shout out to my friends at Acme Homes, Bobby Cumming, former college teammate. I wish you had some houses down here in the Maple Valley area, because what I see up north and northeast of the city and then in Eastern Washington, some just amazing homes. And every time I share some of these episodes on through social, there's people that are like, oh my God, I love those homes. So if you're looking for a new home, check out acmehomeswa.com if you live up in the Seattle area. If you live wherever you live in the United States, please, and you love seafood, please give a shout to catchsickofseafoods.com. Assam is the man, small business impacted by COVID, still fighting, got resilience and grit. Him and his wife, they do such a great job. I don't get fish shipped free to me. Me and my wife, we purchase it, and he and his team catching fresh fish out of the ocean have turned my daughter, who quote was a pizzatarian, into a almost a pescatarian. She loves their seafood, so give them a chance. So with that said, Matt, thank you so much for being a guest. It's been an honor talking to you. I learned so much. I will admit I almost got a little emotional at the time. You're talking about your dad, brought back some memories, and just really good way for both of us to honor our fathers. And next time I'm out in the ocean, I'll be thinking about you and your pops, and hopefully he's sailing somewhere out there thinking of you.
Thank you, Casey, man. I had an absolute blast. I love spending time with you, man. And thank you for having me on your show. Really appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you, Matthew. That was an awesome conversation. And I want to say thanks again to Zencastr, a new sponsor on our show. And if you want to take advantage again of a 30% off discount, if you're thinking about starting your own podcast, and if you're going to start one, do it. It's so fun. It's rewarding. And Zencastr will make it so easy to record. So go to zencastr.com now, that's Zencastr, or click the link in the show notes below and enter the promo code TheQuarterbackDadcast. You will receive 30% off your order for the first 3 months. So go check them out now. Also check out Acme Homes, and check out my boys up at Catch Sick of Seafoods if you're looking for the freshest seafood possible. Thank you again for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of the Quarterback Dadcast.